Welcome to Planning for the Future, the podcast.
Welcome to Planning for the Future. My name is Brendan Shanahan, along with Bill Wilson. He's a financial advisor and long-term care expert. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thank you.
So tell me the name of your group.
The name of my company is Wilson Financial Group. I am based in Los Angeles, California.
Nice. Good weather out there right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was born and raised in Chicago. I came out to Los Angeles in 2012. But I've been 37 years in the business. Weather's always nice out there for the Angelinos. But the subject of money, no matter where you are, is always very, very important.
Right.
And people are trying to get a good handle on a decent lifestyle and how to get there and all that.
Right, and you're there to help.
Exactly.
That's one of the things I find about the long-term care planning is you guys really seem to enjoy what you do, and it's all about helping them get to that goal.
Correct. While we're young, the last thing you think about is, could you ever be in a nursing home one day? I often share with people that we have a birth date, and we certainly have a death date down the road. That's the $64,000 question. We don't know when that's going to happen. But we work hard, we save money, but eventually our bodies start to give us some challenges. And all of a sudden now you need some care. And the key thing is, would you rather spend down your money or somebody else's money? And the somebody else's money part is having some kind of program that's going to help you in that long-term care element. Okay. I come from a simple family. I was born and raised in Chicago. When I was growing up, I was the Kool-Aid kid. My father worked for General Foods. He made Kool-Aid. So every day when he'd come home, he had different colored hands, grape one day, green the other day. And so the Wilson household was a very popular place, especially in the summer, because we had plenty of Kool-Aid for free. And that's before they started putting that sugar stuff in there. It was just, you just had the drink, but you put your own sugar in. And then they developed Cool Pops. And so on a hot, humid day in Chicago, that was a place to go.
Oh, wow.
Just to sit in the porch, and if you got a breeze, great, but you always were refreshed with a nice cold glass of Kool-Aid.
And those Cool Pops, would you just get the ones that they're still attached and just clip off the top, and you get like 3 at a time? You get all those different flavors. Oh, those freezer pops, boy.
Exactly.
Those are perfect on a day like that.
But that's where that's how I started my beginnings, and my parents taught me a good work ethic. I was working right away before I was 16 years old, making some money here and there. But it was all about, the dollar, understanding the dollar, and putting something away for yourself. Okay. But even if you do that, and you're saving money and all that, eventually you're going to find that you're going to spend down your dollars if all of a sudden you become sick. So the whole purpose of long-term care is how to protect that money, okay, to be able to pass on a legacy and have a program where, when I mentioned would you rather spend your money or somebody else's money is a program that's going to be able to help you on a daily basis to take care of care if you need it.
Right. And it's really about making your money work for you, right?
That's exactly right.
So like I've heard it being said, you want to take $1 and make it do the work of 4.
Correct.
So when it comes to long-term care, is it ever too early to start planning?
Well, people look at long-term care and think, well, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, why should I bother with it? But if you think about it, I think a lot of times people are negative to it because they think, well, it's expensive, I got to put something out. Even if they're younger, they still put on some kind of a premium, right? And then they got to qualify for it. They got to be healthy enough. And normally in your early ages, you are healthy. There's not an issue there. But then the third element is, well, if I never go into a nursing facility, if I never need the long-term care, I just spend all that money for nothing. Okay, and so I try to share with people that there are programs where it's not a use it or lose it plan. You've got a backup plan, like a plan. I always call it a plan B. You have a backup plan that if you need it, it's there, and if you're not, you'll be able to. All that money you spent could go, and if something happens to you, God forbid, can all be passed on tax-free. So for the money you're putting out, it's not a lost cause. There is an element there that's going to help you if you need it, and if not, it's going to be passed on to your loved ones.
It used to be more like that, though. It used to be more like car insurance. So you're paying in hopes you don't ever need it.
Correct.
And if you don't use it, then that money was just there. The insurance company says, thank you for,
That's right.
for taking our gamble.
Exactly.
But now the way that laws and everything have changed, it's more of an investment than it is just a prevention sort of thing, right?
Yep. You could take, for example, let's say you had a CD at a bank, and let's say it was valued at all your working life, you put money away, and now you've got a few $100,000s, right, that you've got. You could take some of that money and all of a sudden put it in a program. It's there for you if you need it for emergencies, but there's an element in the program that would actually 2 times or 3 times that amount for long-term care use. And so if you needed it down the road, because you can't predict what that would be, but they say like 65% of people, once they're 65 or older, are going to have some need of long-term care. Okay, and by having a program that will allow you to have some element of protection is everything.
Right. I mean, because there's certain things you can't plan for. Nobody plans for a heart attack. Nobody plans for a stroke. Nope. Nobody plans for cancer. But those the planning and investing in your long-term future is something that makes sense, and you buy that peace of mind.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yep.
So is it ever too late to start?
Well, as you get older, of course, your health could be a challenge. You could have, high blood pressure. You could have high cholesterol, all those kind of things. And there are companies that will still take you on. The key thing is people, they procrastinate. They're busy in their lives. And though they feel, that's important, they'll nod their head and say, Bill, it's very important to have. But they put it off. So is it too late? No. It just depends on what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to protect, how much money is needed. It will determine, where you are in your life. And, of course, as you get older, premiums cost more. So I'm more into, if you had to go to a nursing home, what would be the first asset you'd be wanting to spend? You have to spend down. Okay, and taking that money, all we're doing is going from the left pocket to the right pocket. It's still yours. You still have liquidity. If you have emergencies, you can take that money, but it's there for an element of long-term care, and it allows you to have that money to be used for that if you need it. And if you don't, you still can get your hands on that money anytime you need it.
This is Planning for the Future with our guest, Bill Wilson. To get a free copy of Bill's book, call 424-702-5588.
So what would be 3 things that you would recommend to somebody who's coming in to do some long-term care planning for the first time?
Well, if I'm sitting down with somebody the very first time, I want to get to know them, obviously. But then, like anything else, what money is coming in, what money is going out. And so we got to have a budget. We got to have something that's going to be slotted for the future. They have a goal in mind of what that is, and then it's important to find out how important is the legacy. How important is it to pass this money on? What are you trying to accomplish? Most people have grandchildren. They want to do something for them. Okay, so they need the money for their needs, but it's something if they never use it and something does happen, it's passing that money on tax-free to their family.
Here's something that happens a lot now, though. A lot of times you have kids and they make more money than the parents did. So even though the parents are coming in saying, I want to leave something for my kids, the kids are saying, you use it. Do whatever you need with that. Take care of your retirement. We'll be fine. You need it more than we do.
Sure.
Do you see that more often?
Yeah, that kind of hits home because my mother had dementia and Parkinson's. 10 years. And so I watched that whole process, just the start of when she was in her late 60s, early 70s, starting to kind of lose her footing a little bit. And I was always suspect that there's some issue there. But, of course, once you see a doctor, she had fallen in 2008, and that doctor had basically told my brother and I, your mother has dementia and Parkinson's. And then she was, put into a nursing facility. And my mother had not planned earlier for having some kind of a long-term care element for that. So, monies that she had saved was all going to go towards that. And, the wish of every parent is to be able to pass something on to their children. But my brother and I, all we really cared about, if we didn't get anything, that was okay. We wanted our mother's care to be taken care of. Okay, so I was basically being the oldest. I had to, sit in front of somebody who owned that nursing home and to make sure that my mother's money was going to be taken care of for those needs. Eventually, as she, average stay in nursing home is about 2.8 years. That's when people finally pass. But my mother passed that record, and so then the state came in and took care of her needs until she passed away.
So, and that brings me to a point, generationally, you'll see that my parents and your parents, I'm sure, were a bit more private about their finances and things like that.
Sure.
But do you recommend when someone comes in and if their kids are of age, do they involve them in the process?
Well, if we're talking about assets, people who have saved money and now they come to one of my workshops, they see the need for planning for long-term care. I always feel when I sit down with people, who do they seek counsel with? And most likely it's going to be the children in one form or another. And so I think it's important that if I'm going to sit down with the parents and they have certainly adult children, they should be part of the conversation. Because believe it or not, they are going to be part of that conversation. They do plan. If they don't plan, they're still going to be involved in the conversation. So I'm all about making sure that whatever they have in assets that it's protected the best we can, and that since their care is a big concern of their children, that I have them there to make those decisions for them or help them out with those decisions.
When you're doing the long-term care planning, it's almost like you're putting together a team. So you have your advisor like you, and then you have your kids there too.
Right.
And when it comes to family, say you have 3 kids. One kid might be better with money. One kid is really good at organizing things. Another one might be the emotional one that doesn't want to be involved as much.
Well, certainly it's a discussion a lot of parents don't really want to talk about, but sometimes, when you have the holidays and things like that and they're around the table, there are some discussions. And so what I find if I'm doing some workshops, there's parents there, they have their children have children, their grandparents too. But they realize this is something they've been putting off. It's something they need to be focusing on. They have that talk with their kids. It's a conversation. It's obviously not an easy one, but I kind of help towards that conversation as I sit down with them. And all they're really doing is proper planning so that the goals and dreams that the parents had to retire are still accomplished, but then also too based on their interests, their grandchildren's interests, things like that. That those particular the plan is going to not only be there for them, but for their legacy to continue on.
Right. And you probably have a really unique situation being out there in Los Angeles, too. You probably run into some great stories, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't born and raised in Los Angeles, but for the time I have been there, I find it's obviously a melting pot of a lot of different nationalities. People are hardworking people, and yet it's common. They all love their family. They've worked hard. They want to have a decent lifestyle for retirement. The long-term care part of it is just part of one of the pieces of the puzzle. You just have to have those type of things put together properly.
Yeah, that peace of mind, right?
Absolutely.
That peace of mind it's a huge, huge deal.
Right.
Any good stories? Come on, you got one. I know you got to have at least 1 or 2 good stories.
I would say yes. I've got one particular gentleman. I'll just say John and Teresa. John is a city worker, worked hard all his life, and finally, like anybody else, after 40-some years of doing that, it's just time to hang it up. Yet he has a pension, and of course, he's luckily he also has Social Security. Sometimes you have pensions, so your Social Security is kind of out the door because that windfall elimination. So, but 3 daughters that they brought onto this world. Those daughters, of course, are all married. They've got kids. So here's John, finally retired, and now based on their lifestyle, just wants to continue with that. And we had that discussion.